Joining us right now is the former chief strategist of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign back in 2008, Mark Penn. Mark, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. What's your reaction to what we just heard?
Well, you know, Obama's doing what presidents do at the end, which is they usually do a legacy tour and kind of outline some of the areas for history, laying down markers in terms of what they did. And he laid down a marker that he believes he was able to successfully fend off any terrorist attacks of significance in the United States. Not the kind of speech I'd actually recommend, because you never know what happens and when things are planned. But I think it was just part of this legacy tour. And I'd rather he didn't get back and forth with the president-elect. It's kind of unseemly.
Yeah, but once again, Deegan, he's pointing fingers. He blamed Congress. Said Congress has to do their job.
Well, and it goes to the point that it goes to something that people have had a lot of problems with in terms of the president of not identifying our enemy and acting like that radical Islamic terrorism is some sort of geographic threat rather than an ideological one.
Right.
And I'll point out the White House Twitter account put out something that the president said yesterday. Over the last 8 years, no foreign terrorist organization has successfully planned or executed an attack on our homeland. Well, as Brett Stevens from the Wall Street Journal pointed out, oh yeah, those 18 emails between Anwar al-Awlaki and the Fort Hood shooter, that was nothing. That was just workplace violence. So it shows a disconnect that many people have with how the president has described what's gone on in this country in the last 8 years and what really happened in terms of the radicalization of a lot of individuals who turned into murdering.
Well, there's also San Bernardino as well as Orlando that happened, and as well. So not addressing this issue, and especially because this leader hasn't come from a position of strength. I mean, when you look at what happened over in France, you had the world leaders actually link arm in arm, and President Obama was the one who wasn't there. It was actually Secretary Kerry. So it was a clear message and path he took with his administration in regards to terrorism.
Where does the Democratic Party go now, Mark? Vice President Joe Biden is now backing off his 2020 White House run, only slightly. I mean, should we expect Biden to run in 2020 after his comments? How do you see that? And what about what we've seen recently in terms of this push for Keith Ellison to head the DNC, re-electing Nancy Pelosi? It seems like the party is not listening to what the people want to see, and that's change.
It's fair to say that the party hasn't yet digested, you know, the election results. Look, what happens when parties go out of power is that they take some time to come back into power and come up with a reasonable strategy. There have been a lot of dynamics that have been pulling the Democratic Party to the left, but I think if you look at the country, you know, the country is a centrist country. Most people are, in fact, 75% are either moderate or conservative. And so that's a reality of where the country is, and the Democratic Party, I think, is going to have to digest that reality, really come up with leaders that can fit that bill. And look, Donald Trump has a couple of years here to really make his mark, and either his presidency will be quickly a shipwreck or it will get somewhere. But 2 years from now, when the next presidential race begins, the party is going to have its act together if it's going to take back the White House, and that, to me, is a more centrist act.
So this is Lee Carter. How are you doing this morning? One of the things that I found really interesting in the debate between Kellyanne Conway and Jennifer Palmieri was that Kellyanne said, you know, you can't take responsibility, and really one of the things that was wrong was that you did not have a message for the middle class, for the white middle class in America. How do you respond to that? Do you think that she didn't have a message, and what should the message of the Democratic Party be going forward?
I think I pointed out that when I worked with Hillary in 2000 and 2006, and even 2008, she won over working class voters overwhelmingly because she did have a message of economic progress. I don't think Bernie Sanders is exactly the right message for the more conservative populist revolution that we saw happen in the Midwest. I think this notion that, from a Democratic position, that, look, we can make modernization work for you. We can bring the internet, we can bring infrastructure, we can revitalize your part of the country. I don't think they heard that the way from Hillary Clinton this time, the way they'd heard that in some of her previous elections when she went upstate New York, which was a heavily rural, economically depressed area, where she was able to get incredible support.
Part of it is I don't think that she communicated that message. I mean, she didn't have a plan. She said she did, but what was the plan, Mark?
Well, look, I think the Hillary's campaign concentrated very heavily on trying to knock Donald Trump out.
Right. The plan was trash Trump. That's right.
And as a result, I don't think you heard the issue plan really come through. In fact, you know, I always say that surprisingly, the last 20% of voters didn't like either candidate, and they seem to have decided more on the issues that Trump laid out rather than the issues that the Democrats laid out.
Because he had a specific plan.
Well, Mark, people didn't know who Hillary Clinton was because, again, at least on the public stage, she was still trying to figure it out. And then she really reveals herself when she says half of Donald Trump's supporters belong in a basket of deplorables. And that, in fact, united people. And it made people mad who might not have voted for him.
Well, look, when you're running on a platform of Stronger Together, you don't want to divide the electorate into camps.
Fair enough.
Let me ask you, Mark, are you going to the big soiree next week? Hillary Clinton's going to be hosting this holiday party in New York to thank her millionaire donors. It'll be at the Plaza Hotel. You're going to be there?
No, I'm not one of the millionaire donors, so I won't be there for that one.
So, I mean, it's a Christmas party, I guess, holiday party. But what do you think the donors are saying now?
Look, I think the donors are disappointed, somewhat confused. You know, really what happened, I think hasn't been fully written. Anytime a race is this close, within 100,000 votes across a few states, it could have been won, but it wasn't. But Donald Trump did run, you know, a strategy that in the end, I think, snuck up on the Democratic organization. But could have been blocked with a stronger message. The donors are going to look forward. The donors you know, don't think Donald Trump should have won. They don't think he's going to be a good president. They're skeptical, and they're going to want to renew the Democratic Party. And the Clintons, you know, Hillary didn't make it to president, but she had a career of excellent public service. You know, whether she's the one who said that women's rights are human rights to China, or whether or not she was you know, originally was behind some health care reforms and a senator from New York. She did distinguish herself through her career, and I think the Clintons will be honored with that.
Who's your best bet in terms of the next Democratic candidate? Who would you bet would be next?
I would keep my money in my pocket. I think it's too far in advance to really figure out. I don't think people would have predicted it.
No bench yet. Mark, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mark Penn joining us there.